With registration coming up, I'm sure everyone is super excited trying to figure out their classes, and it makes me think a lot about registration last semester. Because I was a freshman, all the classes I wanted to take were completely full or just didn't fit anywhere in my schedule. I remember I had my back hunched over my desk, scrolling through SIS, literally just trying to find anything. And like an hour later, I had finally found the perfect class. And I was super excited to share it with all my friends. Not that they really cared, but I told them it was a 2.5-hour, once-a-week class, wait for it, on religion and ecology. They looked at me all really confused. What's that? You know, it's religion and ecology. I actually don't know. Understandably, finding a connection between the two is not immediately natural. Religion is about beliefs, ideologies, cultural practices, whereas ecology is a science about organisms and their ecosystems. But the fact that we see these as polar opposites reflects the divide we create between liberal arts and STEM. Now, because I've always been interested in literature and arts, and because I encourage all my friends to take a humanities class in their schedules, like me, I've always felt like a humanities person doing STEM. And that's always made me feel like a minority, especially at Case where we tend to see studying humanities as insignificant to studying engineering, science, or math. But using the phrase humanities person or STEM person or science person doesn't really make sense and only perpetuates the divide we create between liberal arts and STEM. And when I say humanities, I mean it in a broad sense, that as anything that relates to studying human culture, such as English, philosophy, but it's not limited to social sciences like anthropology or economics. But that only proves we tend to group anything non-STEM as humanities. And we also kind of make the joke that anything non-STEM is easier or a fallback. But not only are humanities important in itself, but really necessary for us to excel in STEM. Now, it's not totally our fault why we have this view on humanities. In America, we have an understandable obsession with STEM. We aren't ranking as high as we want in math and science, and we are constantly competing with other countries to develop the newest, most innovative technology so we can be the world superpower we think we are. And it explains why we push kids at such a young age to have a strong background in science and math. While fostering a love of science and math is great, we tend to take it to an extreme, and we start to de-emphasize the humanities. So you have politicians like Matt Bevin saying there will be more incentives to electrical engineers than French literature majors. And you have Florida Governor Rick Scott asking, is it a vital interest of the state to have more anthropologists? Hearing elected officials wanting to defund liberal arts education and the growing emphasis of STEM in our schools drives the false idea that studying humanities isn't necessary for the progress of our country. If we continue to think humanities is unimportant to education overall in our country, we will continue to see humanities as unrelated to what we are learning to become doctors, researchers, or engineers. Now, of course, we need the humanities to be a well-rounded individual, because it looks pretty impressive if we can answer obscure Jeopardy questions about the Cubist movement. But humanities has so much more importance to studying STEM. The humanities teaches us how to understand our complex world and how to ask bigger questions that help us understand our purpose. With science becoming more powerful, how can we continue with artificial intelligence or data analytics if we don't consider first the ethical implications? And how can we figure out which problems to solve if we don't have an understanding of people, their societies, and cultures? Because if we really want to develop creative solutions and be the most innovative, we can't rely solely on technical experience. We need a better idea of the context of our problems. And studying humanities gives us that context. Fareed Zakaria, the author of the book In Defense of a Liberal Arts Education, says it best. America will not dominate the 21st century by making cheaper computer chips. but instead by constantly reimagining how computers and other new technologies interact with human beings. So it is possible for our schools and education system to encourage and incorporate a love of both humanities and STEM. At MIT, they view humanities as essential to educating future doctors, engineers, or scientists. They recognize that studying humanities teaches us critical thinking skills and gives us a cultural and historical perspective to the problems we have. And as one MIT grad puts it, MIT biology prepared me for medicine, but literature prepared me to be a doctor. Reading literature and narratives in school meant she was more prepared to interpret her patients' stories and better understand her patients, to be a better doctor for them. So even though 8 humanities classes are required at MIT, taking more humanities classes isn't the point or the answer. It's about valuing our humanities and SAGES courses as more than just things we need to get over with. So now when I tell people about my religion and ecology class, I still get a confused look, but hopefully I should know how to explain the connection. Religion is about beliefs and values, which shapes how we view our environment and the role of humans in it. And as someone studying chemical engineering who hopes to save the environment, I know, dream big, understanding people's values and relationships with the environment cannot be overlooked when trying to develop sustainable solutions or clean energy. So we can make the connections between humanities and STEM classes. Now, I don't think we at CASE disregard or hate the humanities and social sciences. I think we get tunnel visioned with our STEM education. We all have so much potential to be problem solvers and innovators. And if we can change our mindsets on how we view humanities in our education, and if we don't lose sight of why we become pre-meds, engineers, or scientists, I truly believe we can become the positive forces we are capable of becoming. Thank you.